All right. So I'm there in the rock, okay? I'm there in the rock, and I realize I'm going to get a second chance. I'm going to be able to get off this thing. And so I started thinking about my strategy. And the first thing I thought of, well, what you've done so far, it has not worked. You have not did anything except get a couple of gasps of breath, and it's taken you down the whole time. So I think to myself, what can I do differently? Work with the river. Don't fight against it. It hasn't worked. You fought against it and you've lost every time. Work with it. So I said, okay, what does that mean? Well, it means that I'm going to use the river's force to help me to get out of this situation. So I started thinking, and when you're in a survival situation, guys, you need to adapt. You need to adapt. And that's what I did. I'm here today because I adapted to that river scenario. If I would have did the same thing, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. But I changed my line of thinking. I adapted to the scenario. I said, you know what? It has not been working. So here we go. We need to do something. Okay? All right. So this is what I did. I said, all right, I'm gonna use it. And when I get to the floor, I'm not gonna be rolling on the floor anymore. I'm gonna use it to catapult myself towards the shoreline. And so that's what I did. But before I did that, before I was released on that rock, because as I'm thinking, I'm sliding. Okay, I'm like literally sliding little by little, and the water was going between my stomach and the rock, and it was helping me slide. Okay, and I was able to. When I went down, when the rock released me, I went down. Okay, and I hit the floor. But when I hit the floor, I kind of like use it as a springboard. I use it as a springboard, and I push myself up to the right hand side. And so as I used the river, instead of going against it, I used it now. And I got up and I got a really good burst of air. Obviously I spit up some water, right? Because it was already going in my lungs. And I spit out the air. I'm sorry, spit out the water. And this was the first time I really got some good air because the force that I used to spring myself up, it was really really powerful. And then plus, my long arms. This was my long arms. They came into my long arms were part of the helping me to survive. And also on the rock, I did pray. I did pray to at that time God. I called him God, but I prayed to God and I called out and I said, you know what, God, just give me the strength because I have zero strength. And it was true. I had zero strength, guys. I was already wasted, but I asked for that strength and he gave me that determined strength. And really one of the things I will tell you is that my mentality totally changed from going to, you know, I'm done to going to not today. Not today. I'm not dying today. This is not my day. I'm gonna live for my family. At that time, I was newly married for my for my child, for my spouse, and for my family, my friends, for all the students in my class that someday I'll be able to make a positive impact. I said, no, I'm not dying today. This is not my day. And I asked, Father for strength, and He gave me the strength, because I didn't have any. Trust me, I was done. And so there I am swimming, hardcore, with the force behind me, the force of the river behind me, because I would use it as a springboard on the bottom, right? And I get up, I get that air, and I look, and I say, okay, I see there's a rock coming. I got a good glimpse of a rock on the right hand side. And so instead of allowing the river to suck me down, I went down voluntarily. I went down voluntarily to be in control of it, right? Remember, before it was taking me down, like two hands taking me down, but no, I didn't let it. I went down on purpose. I went down on purpose. and it took me down. Yeah, it took me down. What did I do? I used it as a springboard again. I went down, used it as a springboard, and pushed myself up. And this time, just I knew I got to get to that rock. I got to get to that rock. That's my only hope. And so I'm there. I'm going, full force, and I pull out my hand, and I put it like this. I remember put my fingers out like this to the rock, and as I'm passing it, boom, I find this little cleft on the rock, perfect for my two fingers to hold me there. And I'm being held, and I'm like this, and then I hear my friend Manuel across, and he's saying, Anthony, are you okay? And I'm like this on a rock, and I'm like, yeah, like barely right there, right? I'm totally wasted by this time, guys. I'm absolutely wasted, and it was difficult, right? I just remember they came for me. My friends came for me, and I got out, and I was just every ounce of physical energy was depleted from my body. There was nothing. I was so thankful that I made it, because had that rock not been there, guys, I would not be here. Everything had to go right for me to survive. The 90-10 theory. Now, fast forward, okay? Now I'm going to reflect on, surviving. So I fast forward to 3 years ago when I was in summer talking to that ranger. Now, I want to be very mindful that almost every day, I think about surviving that. I'm so thankful, because so many things, I relate to It's a Wonderful Life. No, I wasn't trying to commit suicide, by the way. Going into the river, I was not trying, unlike Jimmy Stewart in It's a Wonderful Life, when he jumped in the river, right? Or he wanted to commit suicide. No, but I think when times are dark, when things are bad, I think about that in my life, and I say, you know what? 90-10 theory. You were saved for a reason, The basic reasons, because, you have loved ones, because you want to be, around, you don't want to leave. Yeah, it's not your time, right? But I think about that, and it was very unfortunate, but a week later, another father from my same church, was so weird. Another father from my same church, he saved his daughter, not in the same river, but in the area of where I was at. Him and his daughter were being washed away, and he took his daughter, and as he was passing, he threw his daughter to his wife, and he saved his daughter, and they found his body. A couple of days later, they found his body washed up, It was like a week after my incident, by the way. And I think about things like that, I think about things like that. I think about how fortunate I was to survive that situation, and how blessed I was to go through that, even though it was stupid, right? It was stupid. I didn't have we didn't have any life vests or anything. We just went. It was so dumb, but we made it. I made it. My friend made it, and we're just glad that we were fortunate, right? Could have been two of us lost, but no, zero. So 90-10 theory. 90% of people who went through that died. Okay. The ranger confirmed that. He's there, all the time. He had told us about a couple of days before we were there about a father who he told, do not go in the river with a bad lifeboat. He went with like a Walmart lifeboat, or Walmart, those canoes or whatever. It was a very cheap thing, and he told him that is going to be your coffin, and sure enough, it was. The guy didn't listen. Eventually, he went in with his son. Thankfully, his son made it out, but the father, he didn't make it. He went under and he got trapped on a rock. Exactly what happened to me. And he basically says that's what happens, that people get trapped on a rock and they're unable to get off the rock and they drown right there. And then their body gets taken and they go into the river, their body gets churned up. I know, disgusting, but it does. He said their body gets churned up, and usually they don't even have bodies to show the family. Okay. Their bodies just get deteriorated in the river, which is really gross, right? But he says that's what happens, Um, usually they don't find your body and you die. And he said 90% of people who go through these situations die, and 10% come out and tell their story like me. So you're listening to a 10 percenter basically, right? 10 percenter. And Kachi River is a F3 river. F3, they go different levels, like F5. F5 is like, you need a guide, you need to be like an expert. Uh, Level 4 is, you don't need to be an expert, but you need to have some experience and you need to know what you're doing. Level 3 is the one I was in. Level 3 is like, you don't need to be an expert. It's just like amateur stuff, right? However, it is dangerous and people do drown, people do die. But we're talking about with life jackets, okay? Now, without a life jacket, you don't want to even go near the river, okay? I mean, that was that was crazy. Yeah, that was super crazy. Um, Another thing, it led to other things, because had I died that day, my first child also would have died, because I would not have been there to prevent something from happening. What, like a year and a half later after that incident, when she was like 3 years old, she had a appendicitis. And if I wasn't there to prevent um, my ex-wife from getting on a plane, my firstborn child would have died as well. Okay, so you see how one event leads to others, right? And that's why I think about It's a Wonderful Life, because you know over the years since then, um, people have told me that I've been a positive impact in their life. But imagine if I would have died, you know? Well, maybe somebody else would have been a positive impact. You could always say that. But just like It's a Wonderful Life, he gets taken and he gets to see what life would have been like without him, and the impact that he made. And so I think about that from time to time. And I want you to think about that. Maybe you haven't survived anything like that, but you have made an impact in people's lives. And whenever you're down, remember that. Remember that the positive impact you make in others' lives. That's why we live. That's why we live, to impact others, and to be positive pockets of energy, or whatever you want to call it. Okay. But maybe you survived something. Maybe you survived something different than my ordeal. Maybe you haven't. It doesn't matter. You've made a positive impact. And maybe you say, it's minimal. It's minimal impact. Either way, there are people who love you. There are people who love you and want you here. So whenever you may be down, whenever you may be, things are not looking so good, try to focus on, what I do. I don't try to focus on myself, because if I do, during those times, during bad times, I tend to think about how not good of a person I am, or stuff like that. I tend to put myself down. So I tend to think about how have I impacted other people in a positive way. When I do that, that's when I feel like my worth. I'm like, you know what? I have been of value to people, and everybody has value. Everybody has value in their life. So yeah, I just wanted to share that story, and there's more to the 90-10 theory I really want to get into, but we're already at 15 minutes, so I don't really have time to go into it. But I'll probably make it with some other video and put it in there. So yeah, just I I really enjoy that story a lot because has two things, right? I gave up at one point, and I admit it to people. I did give up when I was on the rock. I was done, guys. And when I realized I was slipping off, I'm like, okay, not today, man. We're gonna live, like I'm gonna fight to live. And if you ever get in a situation like that, you need to have the mindset like that. Like, not today. This is not my day. I'm not dying today. I'm gonna survive this somehow, some way. And another thing, think about the impact you make in people's lives. Think about that because you do make a positive impact and people love you. And that just in itself is a reason to keep living. Okay. No matter what circumstance you're in, you got to keep fighting. Keep fighting for others. Maybe not even yourself. And that's one of the things I take away from that experience, that when I was fighting for survival, when I got that instinct to fight and to not quit, nowhere in there did I say I want to live for myself. It was I want to live for others, for my family, for my daughter, for my spouse, for my friends, my family. And I remember even my future students. I remember saying that. Yeah. So be tough, guys. Be tough. That's today's message. Be mentally tough. Don't quit. Love you guys. Have a good weekend.